I'm just messing with you. Want to make you think your computer froze up. No sound effects for the intro. I'll let the blade do the talking. Listen to this. Another intimidating cold steel folding knife. Man, I love this series. Got all three versions to show you. Sound effect. Cue it. This one's been in the project for, I guess, a year now. Testing and use. This is a mid-sized version. And then just returning from a backpacking, mountain rappelling trip over the ledge here in TMP. The smallest version. Hey guys, old school Nutnfancy knife tabletop review. It is June 2012. Wives, hide the credit cards. Our card. Your husband might want to buy this knife. They're awesome. Whatever size you choose is awesome. Love them. I'm going to jump right into philosophy of use. I might break from the pack just a little bit on this. I will say Marshall blade. That is a tactical knife. I don't know if I've used the term Marshall blade for a long time. That is a knife that you would defend your life with. Same thing as tactical. I know definitely the whole series, well I wouldn't say the whole series, but the largest one, this is a Cold Steel Holdout 1, 6-inch blade. The mid-size is called the Cold Steel Holdout 2. That's a 4-inch blade. And then the smallest one is the Holdout 3, 3-inch blade. I think these two are intended for the tactical POU, for sure. This one probably is not, but I would say it also classifies as a tactical blade. Yep. I know what you're saying. Guys who've been following my knife reviews for a while say, well, it lacks some of the features that you usually like on a tactical blade. Generally a longer blade, I would agree with that. And some guards of some sort. We'll talk about that as the review goes on. I still think this is a tactical blade. I wouldn't say first and foremost, I think it could flex in that philosophy of use, especially into localities where blade length is a problem. You can't have over a 3-inch blade. You might want to consider a Cold Steel Holdout 3. Excellent choice. In the Marshall blade category, again, this thing is just insane. Not the first huge and intimidating tactical folder from Cold Steel that we've seen in front of the TMP camera. They really get it done right. There's lots of great blade manufacturers. I have many favorites, as you've seen in my playlists and over the years since 2008 here in the Nutnfancy project. Very few put together a large, seriously purposed tactical folder, production knife like Cold Steel. They're just not out there. Here comes the Cold Steel Voyager XL. Listen. I just laugh. It's just so nasty sounding. This is a plain edged clip version. I just love it. Stonewashed finish. That's what I'm saying. I mean, they put together so many knives like this for law enforcement, military responsible civilians. This one is just, you got to handle this thing to appreciate its size. I know what you're saying. That's what she said. But seriously, this is a big blade. 6-inch blade. And I'll just cover it now. It's lightweight. 7.2 ounces on my scale. The mid-size, this one right here, 4 ounces. Baby Bear right here, 2.4 ounces, which is amazing. When we look at the handle, we'll see the reason why it's so lightweight. Stuff I always rave about. What a capable blade that is. It's a fighting knife. Man, I'm seriously impressed by these blades. Mid-sized, also very capable. 4-inch blade. And this is probably the best overall Marshall blade. I would say in carryability that you'll have it with you. All of them bury very deeply in the pocket though. They carry very well. Yes, even this one. I know I've done it. And you will not, let me say, other people won't know you have such a very large folding knife in your pocket. There you go. Tactical / Marshall blade, whatever you want to call it. How about EDC, utility use? Obviously this one would be primary. Ideal, actually, in a lot of people's minds, and I have used it as that. I used it on the backpacking trip, loved it. Notice they're FFG, full flat ground blades. And when we talk about philosophies of use, tactical blade, we probably ought to talk about the blade shape. Okay, it is basically a spear point, flat ground speared point, designed primarily for thrust cutting. If we jump into the Cold Steel catalog, which by the way I still think rocks, sometimes they have some flowery copy written here, you know. It's still illuminating. I love it. They talk about how they're kind of doing a throwback to the old Scottish knives. They call it the Scottish black. I'm not an authoritarian on that stuff. They are shaped the same way. They're basically stabbing knives. And this is a throwback to that series of knives. And I think the blade profile lends itself very well to that in my own testing. They stab amazingly. But they are not limited to that, especially when we go into a utility task. Notice there's some belly there. I like that. You can roll cut with it. Tips, by the way, are adequately strong for a pierce cutting knife. Let's look at Big Daddy right here. Holdout 1. It's kind of a thin tip on that one, so be careful you don't bust it. But I'll tell you what, these will pierce cut with any other knife as I see it. I'll leave POUs at that. Size, weight, and feel. I didn't cover feel really. Starting with a big knife. This is a 3-for-1 knife review, by the way. That's cool. Love it when I can do that. Love the handle. That handle is just massive. So much real estate to hold on to. That gives it a feel that is very comfortable. You're not going to run out of room even with gloved hands. The balance is outstanding. All three knives, I would say the same thing. That's just my mileage. Steel, OS 8A. I think it's a good steel. I've used it for years. You've seen it thumped on here in the Nutnfancy project for, I don't know, a long time. Enter the Recon 1 Tanto version. Holds an edge well. Resharpens easily. Adequately rust resistant. Again, I love that FFG. Oh, do I love it. Here's one thing I did notice. This one has been reprofiled just slightly by me on my EPA. Edge Pro Apex. You can see that polished edge there. I found that trying to resharpen it, when it did come very sharp out of box, I was having a difficult time getting it back to the sharpness level I wanted. These two haven't been used enough to run down the factory edge, and they're extremely sharp. Cue the paper cut. No surprises. Wicked sharp. My point in bringing this up is that these two out of box look like they have a really nice relief edge. You might have some variability on that, and on your own sharpener you may have to back it up. By back it up I mean make it just slightly more gradual. I think I'm running, I don't know, probably about a, I forget, 22 degree angle on that. So it's not super gradual. Once you do that, the sharpness is going to retain very well. Speed was introed in the video. They are triad lock, so I'll just cover speed, lockup, and strength all in one fell swoop. The triad lock I've talked about a lot. It's Andrew Demko's design. It's outstanding, and here's why. Because the forces generated by the cut or the hack are not transmitted directly to the locking bar. You have a pretty big stop pin right here that will absorb that shock, and this lock bar remains unaffected. Also, like we've seen in the catalog lots, there's some built-in slot, Andrew says, to allow for wearing of the mechanism. And that's at this area right here. I have not personally tested it to that degree. I do know this though, as far as an awesome lockback design that's strong and durable for my own beat tests on it, big old stop pins, I give it an A+. Yeah, that's my own job week, I know. I love the triad lock. It's excellent. Now, if we talk about speed, it's going to make really fast deployment maybe somewhat tricky. You've got to really get a purchase on that thumb stud, dig in your fat, give it a little wrist snap like that. You won't have no problems. It's not a liner lock, which generally comes out with less resistance. The upside is you get that incredible locking mechanism. The lockup on all three knives, even after lots of use here in TMP, flawless. No movement at all. You can't adjust it if you had to. Just A+ lockup. I would say an A on speed given the strength of the locking mechanism. That takes us to the handle. Dudes, this is what I call high traction G10. No, Cold Steel is not the only one that uses it. A lot of great manufacturers do. It's going to provide a lot of stuff I've talked about lots. traction under the clip on your pocket fabric. You can either sand that down a little bit, fill it in with JB Weld, which looks really cool, works great, or you can just wear it in with age. This will overall soften with use. If we go to this one, the Holdout 2, this is not quite as aggressive as it was because it has more use. Yours will too. I love the grip on it. And I might as well talk about it here. There is no meaningful jimping on the top. That kind of sucks. But Nutnfancy, you say it's a tactical Marshall blade. Yeah, you're right. That's because of the side traction that it provides, which is meaningful. There is some handle jimping under here molded in, and that is somewhat tractionable. Love the G10 on these though, and we've seen it on other blades like we said. No, like that one. Talking about the handles, impact device, Kubotan style. All but the smallest will function that, especially Daddy Bear. That is a massive handle. Like I said before, notice how I'm closing this. I turn it upside down so I don't cut my fingers. Big knives, please do that for me so you stay safe. Like that. This is a awesome non-lethal impact device because there's no glass breaker here, nothing that would really permanently injure the dude. Great handles on these. Notice the transitions on the shoulders. They're clean. Not an open back design. There's a Zytel spacer, I believe, on all three of them. Yep. Kind of rectangular patterned. There's no provision to attach a lanyard. So if that's important to you, you may not like it. Here's the reason they're so light. Notice the lacking of something? Awesome. No steel liners. This G10's plenty strong enough without it, and that's why you get this massive 6-inch blade at a 7-ounce weight. All of these are very lightweight knives. That's another reason for my enthusiasm. That and its strength. And notice, of course, obviously, the handles are skeletonized, taking out micro ounces. They're a good looking blade as well. That takes us to clip design. One we have seen a lot. It is reversible left to right. That is excellent. And it carries in the proper orientation, that is tip up. To me, no Wizard of Oz issues, more or less. It's polished. I wished it was blackened. That would probably add cost. But for a Marshall blade, I'm just using Marshall blade this review, I would like it blackened. Notice the clip differences there. I think the smallest screw, this one right here, is shortened so it doesn't interfere with the blade. They do lock tight. Thumb stud. When we talk about speed, I forgot to mention that. It is reversible left to right, I believe. And I love how you can unscrew it. That is because on my EPA, I have a flat here to lay it out and get that consistent angle. I know I could lay it on the full flat grind and just change my angle from there, but I just like keeping it simple. Or my machine will read accurately for its angle. Durability, I will say, is amazing. I hacked some plants down with this. Lots of cardboard cutting. It's a bad deployment. With a Holdout 2, amazed. Great slicing performance. Better actually after I reprofiled it. It's not an amazing steel, the AUS 8, as far as edge retention. I'm not going to say you're going to cut for hours on end in cardboard. I find every steel in my cardboard cutting test goes dull soon enough. Durability is amazing though. Value. Let's see, the one in the middle again is the large one. Maybe your overall choice if it's legal in your area for a tactical blade. God, I just love that knife. I'll say the Holdout one, call it the XL, about $88 June 2012, subject to change. Look in the upper right, that's my recommended retailer. They'll sell them for as low as he can sell them and still stay in business, barely. He's got to move units to stay in business at those prices. I'm just saying. And then the medium one, the large, they call it, is $63. Hope I'm getting their terminology right. I don't know if they are. Holdout 3, this one about $50, which I honestly think is a little bit pricey for this knife. Because this is competing against a lot of other mid-sized tactical blades. The Holdout 2. This one's competing against, well, that's actually an interesting question. It's competing against a lot of EDC blades, but keep in mind it's 3 inches long and it has a broad spear point full flat ground blade, excellent traction, extremely strong lockup, which can flex into tactical POU. So it can compete a lot against a lot of knives. So maybe that $50 is more reasonable. I would like to see it, I don't know, hit the market around $35. Not USA produced, they're Taiwanese produced blades. A lot of the blades you have in your pockets are made overseas. That's just reality. The economic realities of where we're at right now. I would say the value is amazing, just like it is on all these other cold steel knives I've reviewed over the years. AK-47 series. Oh, do I love that knife? Yes, I do. Cold Steel Recon 1. Clip, blackened, plain edge. There's that epoxy mod I told you about. I did that one. Sick. Just cool looking. I have a video out there. If you just type in the YouTube search line, Nutnfancy, JB Weld, you'll come up with all kinds of interesting results. Okay, and the reason I'm showing you this is showing you how Cold Steel does business in providing these, what I think are high value, outstandingly strong, sharp, let's just say Marshall blades, combat blades, heavily used, medium sized, or actually there's a large Voyager. Man, these are great blades. I couldn't really tell you which one I'd go for, you know, against all these. I do like the clip blades, I guess, in overall utility, because obviously we're going to use them a lot more in utility tasks than anything else. But like I said, the Holdout series does have that belly. They can do infield precision work with that tip. They can do food preparation, box opening, and then you might sleep just a little better at night knowing you're going to go out with a very capable defensive blade. They pretty much rock. That's a Nutnfancy review. Thanks guys for everything.